Thank you very much for inviting us to show our film here. Thank you all very much for showing up. I know you have a lot of choices, and it really means a lot that you would choose to see our film. We're going to be here afterwards to do Q&A. I just wanted you to know the guys that are featured in this film, the 6 individuals, they asked me to make this film about 9 years ago, and at the time, I wasn't comfortable making it, and I can share that with you later, but over the years, they kept at me and kept at me and kept at me. And about 1.5 years ago, Lance Mountain, who's one of the featured individuals, called and said, I've been talking to Tony Hawk and Caballero and McGill, and we really want to make this film. Would you reconsider? And he hit me on the right day, and I said, okay, we'll do it. And so we did it, and we're here now. So this is our Canadian premiere, and we're really excited to show it to you. So enjoy the film. Well, how I prepared for it is I direct myself when I'm living. So I practice in front of the mirror a lot. No, a very good friend of mine who's my writing partner, Sam George, he did all my interviews. And I had done my interview with Sam right before George's interview. I had planned to do George's interview, but I was such a wreck after mine that I turned it over to Sam, and he did all of George's interview. But I did all the guys' primary interviews. And then Sam would come in right behind me and talk about other stuff that was pertinent to my relationship with them. So we hopscotched that way. And then my editor, Josh Altman, I basically, once I laid the film out, I turned it over to him and said, you have to make the decisions from here on out because it's too close to me and I can't do it. And he was very, very helpful in helping me walk along that kind of minefield, because it's a minefield. And we typically, when I make these kind of films, I test them in front of friends before I show them to the public to make sure that, we're not skewered too far one way or the other. But as I said when I opened the film up, the 6 individuals in this film asked me to make this, but I wasn't comfortable playing that role, the dual role of, director and character in it again, but they got me, so I did it.
Okay, we have another one, just here.
So you as a skater who subsequently became a team owner, when you were at the contest, was it about your team, or if you saw somebody that was really good, did you get into that?
When I was at a contest, would I scream for other skaters as well as my own? Right. Absolutely. I went crazy for other skaters, but I still wanted my guys to beat them. But no, I loved all the other guys, Christian Hosoi, Chris Miller, Neil Blender, all these guys. I respected all of them. But of course, I always wanted my guys to take them. But if they didn't, I was very supportive of the others, because I've been with them, just as long. They've been in the amateur ranks as well for a long time. And it was a much smaller world back then.
Okay, so right at the back up there, I'll repeat the question.
Hi, hey Stacey. It's very clear from watching the documentary that the interviews you did with the main 6 were very taxing for all of them emotionally. I was wondering, of the main 6 that you were interviewing, whose interviews did you find most personally, emotionally taxing or difficult?
Lance's interview was so difficult to do because as he started to get emotional, I started to lose it during the interview. And I had to keep myself together to keep the interview going, and I was keeping tears from coming out of my eyes. But I usually, when I make these films, I structure them in such a way where I want to get my crew invested in the film. And I knew that Rodney Mullen was going to be my best interview. And so I scheduled Rodney for the very first day. We shot this over a 6-day period. Rodney was one of the very first interviews on the first day, and I brought him in specifically because I knew that he would enlighten the entire crew so that they could know the film that they were working on. And in fact, he did, because after Rodney's interview, these guys felt like they were coming to church every day. And I know that sounds facetious, but that's what they were saying. So it was based on that. So I tried to stagger it in such a way where the crew stays interested the whole time. But Lance and Rodney's were the toughest.
Okay, just here.
Since the original team begged you to do the movie, do you know if this is the movie they thought that they were going to get?
That's a really good question. No, it's not the film they thought they were going to get, but it's the film that they wanted. They, in fact, came to this and they said, this is not what we thought we were going to get, but we really didn't know that this was there, and now that we see it's there, we're really grateful it was there. And they're being told that by their peers who are seeing it as well. Their peers are coming to it and they're expecting just kind of a compilation from the 80s. They're not expecting, you know, kind of a personal experience that these guys, you know, unloaded. So, but I didn't expect it either. None of us did, really. So it was a surprise to all of us.
Just down in the front.
Stacey, congratulations on another great film. You know, you look at people who've been inspired by skateboarding and through their careers have had an opportunity to give back the legacy of your career in the Bones Brigade. And I mean, obviously the company was successful. Was there a point that you realized, you know, the significance of the Bones Brigade in a historical context?
Then?
Or was there ever a point in time where you had appreciation for the sort of the significance in a historical context?
No, because we were moving so fast in the 80s, we weren't thinking of it in historical context. We were too young to think of it back then. But in the 90s, you know, I get phone calls, I get interviews. God, we want to talk about your team that you made. And I started getting the idea that, wow, it doesn't seem like there's been something created similar to this. So it's evolved over time. Then when we did Dogtown and we saw the reaction to that, it kind of enlightened this one as well. But, you know, skateboarding is still such a young sport that we're still figuring it out. So all this is still brand new, you know. I didn't think that I would be skateboarding when I was 13 years old. I didn't think I'd be skateboarding in pools in my middle age. And I am. I can't imagine my father being my age. You know, I just didn't imagine it. You know, so the whole thing's been a surprise, you know.
We've gone in the balcony. No? Okay. Just down here, yeah.
What did you think of the Hollywood make the Dogtown Z-Boys, the Hollywood movie? What did you think of it? Did you see it?
Yes. Thank you.
Okay, moving on. Just here.
In screening this film for both the skateboarding audience and a non-skateboarding audience and mixed, what have been the big surprises that you've seen as far as reactions to either particular skaters, who's popular, you know, having gone through it and retelling or telling the story in this way for the first time, what are you learning about the way that people are experiencing this story?
One of the things I learned is I learned how few pro skateboarders really understand their own history, even the history they live through. And I've also seen how emotional and tender some of these guys are. Some of the, you know, Dwayne Peters when he came to see the film, Steve Olson when they came to see the film, these guys teared up. And it was really rewarding for us to see that. So that's been a surprise. But it's mostly the people involved in the sport itself that forgot all the historical moments, how one thing led to another in this whole thing. And that's what's the fun about making these films is putting all that together and giving the sport a context so that people can understand where it comes from and why it's here and how it got here.
Okay. I see. Just, yeah, very much, yeah.
What was the deal with Bow Night and
All I can tell you is you know, this is one of those weird conundrums. We tested this material, it worked, and as soon as we came out with it on our boards, it didn't work. And if we would have been a lesser company, it would have put us out of business. It's still a mystery to us today.
Okay, yeah, just here with the red, yeah.
What do you think it is about skateboarding in particular that makes it so creative and trend-setting compared to really, I'm a little biased as a skateboarder, but any other extreme sport? It's always evolving, like it never stops.
Because you're not supposed to do it. It's true. You're not supposed to do it where you do it, and because of that, you have to think about how to do it there. When you think about how we skateboard on things that were not designed for us. When you play basketball, you play in an arena that's designed for you to play basketball. Same with football, same with baseball. When you get on a skateboard, you can do it basically anywhere, and you always have to be looking out for cops because people don't want you to be doing it. So if you're going to be a skateboarder, you have to learn to be crafty and subversive, a little bit of a, you know, I'm not going to say dishonest, but a little bit of civil disobedience. It's a really great way to train a brain. Every time someone, like a mother or father says, oh, my 5-year-old, you know, just picked up a skateboard, the first thing I say to them is, I said, your kid's going to be a liberal. It's the truth. Because it opens the brain up. It just has a way of opening your brain up.
I'm looking for people in the back. There was one. Yes, right, stretch up the back.
Hi, Stacey. First of all, that was a great movie.
Thank you.
Just wanted to know, because today, with the internet, we know what's happening around the world. At the time, like when McTwist was first done, or when Rodney was starting to do a couple of these tricks, did you guys really have a sense of like, yeah, this is so cutting edge at the time?
Oh my God, when Mike did the McTwist, the whole industry was up in arms. Everybody. That's all we were talking about. But conversely, when Rodney invented the Flatland Ollie, which would be the most revolutionary of all of them, it wasn't that big of a deal because Rodney was a freestyler. And we were looking at the Ollie as in a freestyle box. We didn't realize the implications that trick would have. You know, when Caballero did the Caballero, unbelievable, mind-blowing. When Eddie Alguera did the, Algario, these were mind-blowing tricks, but again, they were contained to our little cottage industry. They didn't go outside anywhere else.
Stacey, just wondering what's next, man? What are you going to do now?
We're in the process of, I'm producing another documentary on this famous Hawaiian surfer named Eddie Aikau, and we're actually in post right now. But after that, I really, to be honest with you, I just want to skate and surf for a while.
Yeah.
That's it.
Okay, I think we have time for one more. So yeah, just there.
You mentioned in the introduction being afraid to do this 9 years ago and not wanting to do it then. Why not?
Well, like I said, I was asked that earlier because I didn't want to play the director character in the film role. I thought it was too dicey to do that twice in a lifetime. But these guys talked me into it, so that's why I did it. And yeah, go ahead.
What do you think of the generally the state of skateboarding today and where it's going, and do you have anything to say about this new invention they call the longboard?
Is it really that new? I thought we had them in the, back in the day. No, look, I never thought in my lifetime there would be TV channels devoted to skateboarding. It's certainly got commercial, but I think the thing that is remarkable to me when I see skateboarding today is when I grew up skateboarding, 99% of the kids that did it were white with blue eyes and blonde hair. When I see skateboarding today, I see inner city kids doing it, African American kids, Latino kids, kids of all ethnic traditions, and that to me is what's exciting about it because they're being saved by skateboarding for the same reason we were, but they're in all different places, and even kids in Afghanistan. So that, to me, is the thing that's really exciting about skateboarding. As it progresses commercially, there's also this underground thing happening. It's giving other kids a chance. It's giving them a way out and hope. So.